After the surgery, eyesight's improved. Is there anything that somebody can expect to go through? Or let's say hypothetically, vision changes after the lock-in. Any thoughts on that? Why might that happen? Why might somebody not have a good outcome, or at least a good perceived outcome?
Well, okay, so the visual system is complicated. There's no question that it's a wonder of biology that we can see as well as we see. One of the most important refractive surfaces, except for the lens, obviously, is the front surface of the cornea. It's the tear film quality that is absolutely essential. So if you have dry eyes, if you don't have that layer of moisture that smooths out all of the natural micro little divots and things that are in the cornea. It's living tissue. It's not perfectly smooth, but yet when the tear film is adequate, it smooths out the surface. It creates a high gloss surface, if you will, and it creates an optically good quality. Well, as we mature, I mean, we dry out, okay? End of the day, people get dry mouths, and it's in our eyes. We don't produce the same tears like we did when we were kids. And the reality is that we can supplement with tears. We can supplement with dry eye medications, and there's different ways to really not only not only add back to the tears that you aren't making or enough of, but preserving the tears you do make or having other ways in which we can treat. And Nick, you work with this all the time. I kind of love to hear your take on what are the choices and why would people even need that?
Yeah, I mean, dry eye is the biggest thing. Why might somebody have an outcome that is less than ideal? I mean, dry eye for sure. I want to start by saying that if you read any study, if you look at any trial, any FDA data, nothing is 100%. Nothing. We're trying to slim those margins down as much as we can. So compare the LAL to a monofocal lens. If you look at the percentage of time that we get within a half diopter. A half diopter is pretty much the smallest contact lens that we would ever use. With a monofocal lens or even a multifocal lens, that's about 60 to 70%, give or take, depending on which study you look at. The LAL in our own numbers are about 95%, 92 to 95%, depending on the study. Our own numbers are closer to 95 within that half diopter. It's not 100. So there are variables, there are things that can change. One of those things being prior RK, prior LASIK, corneas that are aberrated. Remember what's happening. If you have a cornea that might be subtly irregular, just the way you're designed, your lens may be a shape, your natural lens before we remove it, it may be a shape that masks that irregularity. Now, when we take that lens out, we put in a new lens, it's like stacking lenses together. Your cornea, your lens, they work together as functional components of any camera. So you're stacking those lenses together. There can be subtle irregularities there. Now, it's not the light adjustable lens that's the problem in that case. It's the fact that your cornea may have irregularities, and any lens that we would have implanted would have had those same outcomes. So you touched on it already, John, the dry eye component. Yes, as we get older, things dry out. After we have cataract surgery, this is well documented too, that you may have dry eye. You may have subtle irregular surface irregularities on your eye. Your eyelids act to smooth that surface with your layer of tears. Now, what's important is that the layer of tears that you have is of high quality. The analogy I use, we're in Wisconsin, everybody plays hockey, or at least I don't play hockey. I'm terrible at hockey, but a lot of people play hockey. It's kind of like a Zamboni on an ice rink. If your cornea, after you've had surgery, it's kind of like you've played a whole period or two of hockey. It's all skated, it's all roughed up. Your friction is going to be really high. You're not going to skate very well. You're not going to skate fast. Your eyelids act like the Zamboni. And a Zamboni, if you know how that works, it's got to have hot water. That hot water smooths everything out. So we have our patients use a regimen of just basic artificial tears, preservative free, routinely, but a lot of times I have them on long-term anti-inflammatories, or I may use something called an amniotic membrane, or we may occlude your puncta. Your puncta is a little drain in your eyelid where we actually can plug that up, just like plugging a bathtub. Keeps your tears on the eye longer. These are all things meant to improve the quality of your tear film, to improve the functioning of your eyelid zambonis, if that makes sense. But it's all in a design to make those lenses that are now stacked together work optimally. Makes sense. I don't know if I lost you on that
No,
analogy.
you didn't. Okay, so to all of the people who dialed in who are south of the Mason-Dixon, who may not, who may not be hockey fans, I love the analogy, but it does, it rings true. I mean, the reality is that smooth surface is what creates the optical surface, and I say that only kidding now, knowing that actually Las Vegas has a hockey team, so it's yeah, who knew?
They're
Um,
everywhere. Yeah.
yeah, they're everywhere. So from a practical standpoint, there's more than one component that contributes to quality of vision. So what can we say with significant, with confidence that we have the ability now to optimize the visual system? We can't make you 20 years old like you may have never seen in your life without glasses, but if you were one of those individuals who didn't start wearing glasses until your 20s or 30s, and you remember having really great vision when you were 18, I can't make you 18 again. We can't do that. We can get pretty darn close though. And
Mhm.
this is one of those things where we can actually improve the quality of life, and especially for people who've had glasses all of their life, we can now make it better than they have any formed memory of. And the ability to take away of it. Patients one describe it to me as like this wet blanket that I just got used to. I had glasses and I couldn't, my first movement in the morning was to my nightstand for my glasses because I couldn't get around without them. Or this subliminal sense of dependency where I know that if I'm driving or if I'm in a strange city and my glasses break, I'm in trouble.
Mhm.
I can't drive. I can't function to the extent that I am dependent on this appliance. And you take that away, and all of a sudden it's like you don't think about it because you're so used to it, but you take that away, that dependence away. It's really liberating in a way that people who've never needed glasses just don't understand. But I hear it every day from people who did need glasses all their life, and they come back and they feel like, well, this has changed my life. I mean,
Yeah.
literally in a way that's so positive.
Yeah. So what we can't account for, I always tell patients this too. They always ask, "Is this going to last forever?" And the truth is, the lenses are designed to go into the ground with you. They're not coming out. We do this one time. So
That's good, Nick. That's good. Yeah.
they are.
Yeah,
We're
time
supposed
is
to come
undefeated. Okay, we'll go that.
out. Now, we can't account for any injuries. We can't account for subtle changes to the cornea. Things can happen. And am I going to tell you that it's not going to ever happen, that things aren't going to change? No, I can't promise that. However, I'd be surprised if they do. So I get asked point blank, often enough, have you ever taken one of these lenses out? And I can say, yeah, we have. I'm confident in saying that. Yes, we have. Have we taken out more of these compared to any other lens on the market? We have taken out far more multifocal lenses, far more depth of focus lenses than we have light adjustable lenses. And it's because of our confidence and the overall, at least as far as the overall average number of high satisfaction rates that we've got with this lens. We've taken out plenty more multifocal lenses than we have the light adjustable lens. Very, very few cases have we actually had to go back to the operating room. So again, I can't promise anything. Nobody can. And if you find a doctor that says, I promise, don't trust that doctor. There's no promise here. But what we're trying to do is play the odds and control all of the variables.